everyone. It's Santina here with EmbodyHER Collective. We are here tonight with the beautiful Victoria Abadir, founder of Lancaster Art Vault. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I'm excited actually to be in this space. This is a gorgeous space that you have curated with just so much amazing art, and you could just feel just the welcomeness that it is in it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What started this idea?
Oh gosh, from the beginning? All right, here we go. Oh gosh, how did it start? So it was October 2023. So my husband actually had in the building at that time, and this space was just empty.
Yeah.
And it was such a predominant location in downtown Lancaster, right on the corner of Green and Orange.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an important spot. It was a block from Gallery Row, block from the square, kind of right next to Binns Park.
In the hub of everything that Lancaster is. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was just sitting empty since the previous tenants had left. And so we were trying to fill it. We thought a great restaurant would be great, but it just there wasn't any traction to it. So in October of 2023, I was down in Alexandria, Virginia. My daughter was rock climbing down there, and I was just kind of like walking around Alexandria, and I went into a place called the Torpedo Factory.
Okay.
Which is an incredible place right on the harbor. And it's like an artist collective. So there's studio spaces all around, and I kind of had an aha moment. I was like, I wonder. And I came back and I kind of came into the space and I just walked it and I walked it and I walked it. And an idea started to form of this could be something in Lancaster. And so I called Christian David, who used to have two galleries down on Prince Street on Gallery Row. And I said, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about creating a space that would have gallery space, but more importantly, would have studio space for artists.
Right.
And she said, yes, definitely. Let me come see it. She came down and looked at it and she said, yeah, we got to do this. I want to be your first artist. I want this studio right over here. And now this is the first week in November. And can we do a pop-up in December? And I was like,
how? What?
No. That's 3 weeks from now. No. Somehow we did a pop-up in December.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy. So Christian, we just kind of threw some walls up. I had our maintenance guy throw some walls up, our management guy, and identified a couple artists. I mean, I met an artist. I was out to dinner with my husband and we were sitting at the bar and there was an artist, Peter Stevenson. He's one of our current artists. And he was down at the bar and we started talking like, you're an artist? He said, I am. Some of my work. And I said, oh my gosh, do you want to do this? And he joined and he's one of our resident artists now. So it just kind of took shape. It was very well received and then just kept rolling, did some construction, and we opened in May of 2024.
So right? Exactly. So the concept started mid-year, and then
concept started the end of October of 2023. The thought,
that's
the
insane.
seed,
and
then we did a little pop-up in December, closed for construction January through May, but honestly, construction was about 2 months because permits, right, didn't happen. And I wasn't supposed to open, actually. My goal was to open in September of 2024.
Okay.
But more artists
Were
started
you strong-armed again?
Yes. These artists have opinions, so absolutely. So we had an artist are like, listen, you got to open these doors.
Yeah.
And so we opened in May of 2024. Opened the doors. We didn't have walls. We didn't have lights. We had a handful of artists. I had one employee that I had hired like the month before. I was like, well, let's just see what we can do.
That's amazing.
And so we opened up. Yeah.
And now here we are.
So yeah, we opened with no art on the walls, but really just kind of said, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing.
That's beautiful.
And kind of grew with it.
Yeah.
Gathered more artists. We now are 100% full in our resident artists with a waiting list. And planning our shows through the end of 2026. So,
wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. So prior to, obviously the idea came when you were visiting Alexandria, Virginia, but did you have any want to be in the creative field at all at some point? Or see yourself here?
No, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. I don't even know how it happened, honestly. It was, this happened, I guess, this all happened the year my son went off to college, his freshman
Okay.
year. So his senior year, as I'm sure like anyone else who's a mom or a parent that has kids that are like moving on to their next, oh my gosh, how is my life going to change? And I went through panic because just panic. I was like, what's my life now? What am I supposed to do? I've got to figure out what life means when I don't have kids in the house anymore. So
Yeah.
I think, so I was just kind of figuring things out, and it came at the most perfect time in which things were changing and I was looking for a change, and this idea just cultivated. And no art background here. I hired people that my employees came straight out of PCAD, so
Oh,
I've been
wow.
learning from them as I go and making a whole lot of mistakes, but learning from those too.
Well, that's the path of an entrepreneur anyways, is we make mistakes all the time.
Yes.
And we learn
Yes.
dearly sometimes for that.
Right, but how do you grow without making those mistakes?
You can't.
No.
Honestly.
Uh-uh.
Anything risky is always going to come with the biggest reward
Yeah,
and
of course.
a learning curve of that and
Absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely.
So you talked a little bit about being a mother and becoming an empty nester, right?
Yeah.
That's what we call it. Prior, like when you started realizing that, was it after your son had left? Was it before? And what challenges did you start to internally have and struggle with your own like identity and sense
Yeah.
of self?
I mean, that's exactly it was before. So it was the year his senior year.
Mhm.
Actually, I think it probably was a little bit before that. It was kind of when he got his driver's license, and all of a sudden, and I have a younger daughter
Didn't
as
need
well.
you.
Didn't need me. No,
Yeah.
and I realized after he having his driver's license for a couple months, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't see him anymore because we spent so much time in the car.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning. That was his, I guess, sophomore and junior year. And then I was like, so his senior year, when he started applying to schools and he was kind of doing it all on his own, and he was not going to be anywhere close. I knew that. I really started to struggle with
Yeah.
what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my husband and I? What are our conversations going to be like? What am I going to do on a daily basis? And I've always been active in the community. Like I've
Mhm.
always worked. I've served on a number of volunteer positions, served on boards. I worked for my husband, so it's not that I hadn't worked before. I was always working, but I've never had anything
Yeah.
my own. I was always working for someone else's event, their board, working for my husband, working
Yeah.
for someone else, and I had this but raising my kid, that was my domain. I owned
Yeah.
that. That was leaving. So I felt a need to really kind of figure out, what am I going to own now? What is the thing that I'm going to do? What am I going to bring to the table? What is
You
the
are the
conversation?
table.
Well, there we go. Exactly. I like that. I like that. But yeah, and so I was just, I never had any intention of this, but I knew I was always very community oriented. I love downtown. I love
Yeah.
Lancaster. So when this kind of, and being in this building and kind of figuring out what was happening, that was kind of, it just said, okay, this might make sense, and let's see if
Absolutely.
it works. And honestly, I had no idea if it would work or not. I was just like, well, there's nothing else happening down here, so let's figure it out and let's see if we can ignite this space.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that makes complete
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So you talked about something that actually resonates very deeply with me, and it's you've always done for other people.
Yeah.
You always, helped your husband with what he was doing in his
Yep.
business. You always worked on boards for other organizations. You always were kind of like the person behind the scenes pushing
Yes.
them and
Yeah.
for them to be successful, but
Yeah.
you never were able to identify with your own success.
Right.
That doesn't feel good when you realize that.
You're right. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you sit back and you're like, oh shit, what do I have
What do I
at
have?
the end of the day?
Right.
So navigating that and those feelings, how did you do that? How did you say, actually, I do want to do this myself, and throw everyone else to the side? In a nice way. Maybe.
It's my husband's is an entrepreneur, so it's not like it's new to the conversation. But I never thought I was an entrepreneur, and I think even thinking that I'm an entrepreneur now, it's a difficult identity for me, because I'm like, really, is that what I'm doing? But yeah, I guess I am.
It is.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
We're sitting in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah, I just kind of said, well, this is a need, And I think I'm really good at organizing people. I'm really good at keeping and seeing where needs are.
Yeah.
And I'm really kind of good as a connector, so bringing people together. And it just was like natural. I don't know really where that switch was. That was kind of like, okay, this is exactly what I need
Yeah.
to do. But it kind of started. The scariest thing, and the thing that I look at now is, not having an actual business partner was a really scary thing and remains that. But I think I'm learning to fill that
Yeah.
void with other relationships.
Yeah, the collaborative endeavors that you go through and the people you bring into the
Absolutely.
space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the community that you build, and you find just authentic people that you can be real
Yeah.
with and talk about challenges, but also victories with it too.
Yeah, that's important to have a community.
Yeah. And you
Absolutely.
have, over the years that you've been tied very close to Lancaster and the community that's here.
I have, yes.
So what are some of like the organizations or things that you've done in the community and the relationships and how they've helped you
yeah.
with this endeavor?
Well, I was born and raised in Lancaster, McCaskey grad, McCaskey proud.
love
Very
that.
happy about that. Yay! I'm so proud of that. Absolutely. Went to school away from Lancaster.
Okay.
Worked away from Lancaster for about 6 years. Had my son move back when he was about a year old. And in doing so, it was kind of coming back to a Lancaster that was very different than the Lancaster that I left. But I immediately, talking to people like, how do I get involved? I've got this little baby. I was selling real estate at the same time.
Okay.
And just trying to figure out what my spot was, where my place was. And I actually served on the board of Lancaster Museum of Art. So when I say I don't have an art background, I guess I kind of came back to Lancaster and fell into that, and loved it. Just really loved the people that believed in the city. And then I worked with Lancaster Early Education Center, a number of other committees and boards and leadership positions, and continued to sell real estate, and then kind of had some other jobs. And learning from people that are involved in the community was huge. That if we don't kind of look out for the greater good of what is driving this community and how we're going to continue to grow, that was important. Since I've now been downtown, being involved in the merchant meetings, I've created a group. I've met a group of moms. We called ourselves the mob, the mom-owned businesses. I mean, this was something that was just very organic. There was like 10 of us. We kind of got together at like some women event. And we're like, oh my goodness, let's do. And we just started
the mob is taking over.
The mob. We had this fun, and we have this idea that we want to grow the mob and have like just casual happy hours. Because I remember sitting with one woman, and I was like, I don't know when I'm supposed to hire a manager. I need it, but I'm not there. And she's like, I feel the same way. And those like conversations of like, I really have no idea what I'm doing now. And her to say, neither do I. And she is a very successful business owner, and saying, neither do I. And like, exchanging, like, it has been so valuable.
Absolutely.
Just to say, well, okay, how did you handle this? When did you make that decision? How are you balancing this? You went on vacation? How'd you do that? Those types of things. Is it okay for me to go on vacation? Can I leave?
Yes.
I know. I'm working on that this year. I'm really, really working on that this year. But like those sort of conversations have been really valuable. And I don't know if I would have gotten that if I was in a larger city. And I think Lancaster, the community, downtown Lancaster especially, because that's just what I'm familiar with. There's so many people here that are willing to reach out and help you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we've all got the same idea in mind. We all want to grow, and we're invested.
Yeah. And a big part of that is just being your authentic self and saying, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're able to hear that back from other people.
That vulnerability is really important.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Taking that risk. I mean, it is all about, well, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm going to try it. And if it doesn't, well, okay, that didn't work. We'll pivot. We'll learn from it and try it again. Yeah. Instead of waiting another 4 months to open, well, let's just open now and see how it goes.
But those are the best ones.
Yeah.
Because it happens organically, and it all just aligned. And when the ball's rolling, your ball hasn't stopped. It's still going.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that. And so building that community with other business owners, but then also working on the betterment of Lancaster as a bigger community. How have you brought both of those into this space and the concept behind the people that you bring in here? Because I'm sure it's very intentional what you do.
Yeah, so we wanted to be more than just a gallery. Lancaster is so lucky that we have a really strong arts community. And kind of when talking to people, what I realized is that we have a huge arts community, and we have beautiful galleries down on Gallery Row. Even out if you go outside in the county as well, there's incredible art galleries. We are so lucky to have the DeMuth Foundation, Lancaster Museum of Art. Mulberry Studios is kind of like one of the first things that we're doing. What we're currently
They've
doing.
Been here 30 years? I don't even.
Yeah,
a long time.
They do an absolutely incredible job. But even through that, we realize that there's such a need for studio space. There's for places where artists can create. So that was my first idea. Okay, let's create a space for artists to create, and that they can be here, but at the same time, different than what the Tripita Factory did, is that even if they're not here, we're opening the doors to their studios, so that our guests can see what's going on, how an artist is creating work.
Wait, so we can walk into any of those studios?
Yes, even if the artist, at any time, whenever we open we open the doors, all the studios open, so our guests can see what the artists are creating.
Cool.
It also allows an extension of the gallery, so they can hang their work. It allows us to be able to market and sell their work even if they're not here. So our artists can travel, can spend time with their children, grandchildren, can have a job that's going to help support their work. And we're here marketing, selling their work. So that was number one. So that was important. Number two was also kind of creating exhibitions that were going to be really engaging and exciting. So we have guest artists that we've identified to come in and showcase. But that wasn't enough, because there we've got only 6 or 7 artists. There's so many more artists. So we also do community calls. So with every show, we put out a call for art. Which we then accept probably another 20 to 25 artists that will showcase anywhere between 1 and 4 pieces. So the pieces that you see behind you right there, Louise Thomas, she was a result of a community call. We loved her work, and then said, so we accepted 4 pieces. We found artists to become guest artists through those community calls, and it brings so many more people together because they have spaces to be able to show their work. So that's been super exciting as well. And then just our location being right here, we've been able to open our doors and be a part of like everything that's happening in Binns Park and Ewell Plaza. We do artisan markets outside, just trying to say we've done a lot of different events inside. So trying to be a community space as well.
And you do First Fridays, right? Talk a little bit about some of the events you have that are monthly and then you have coming up, please.
Absolutely. So First Fridays are so much fun. Downtown Lancaster, I think COVID hit First Fridays a little bit, and they are coming back, and they are exciting. Downtown Lancaster is packed. If you haven't been down here, you need to come down. It is amazing. We started about 5:15 here. If you're here early, 5:15 champagne toast with all of our artists. It's a great way to come and meet the artists early. Champagne toast here at 5:15. Bring your friends. And it's, things get really started. We're open on First Fridays until 8:30. We have an artisan market May through October outside. So, we do a lot of fine art within the gallery, but there's so many great craftsmen, artisans that want to showcase their work. So we have space outside to really extend out from the inside out. We've been having the String Sisters play inside. So that's been a lot of fun. So that's amazing. And then this Saturday, we actually have Paint the City, which is a plein air happening all downtown. We participate.
I saw that.
Yes. It's an amazing event where the galleries open their doors and artists take their easels, their chairs, their tables onto the sidewalks and just paint outside. Cool. Why not?
I feel like beautiful. You did that a couple months ago too. Or there was a gentleman outside your door.
We've done a lot of outdoor painting. This is like an all the art galleries opening their doors. So this one is but then we did for Coffee Crawl, we'll do some things, and then there's Art Walk outside. So the art community is pretty tight in all the galleries and trying to really promote these events.
Because it really is it's not a success of just yourself.
No,
it's not
definitely.
A competition.
No,
you have to collaborate together to really pull in your audience and everyone to see everybody's work. Honestly,
that's probably been one of my biggest surprises about opening. So when I opened, I was very nervous about this. I said, okay, what is my competition going to think of me? I am this person that's walking and has no idea what they're doing. What are all these beautifully established galleries in Lancaster going to think? And I cannot tell you the level of support that I've received from them has been unbelievable. We've got the galleries from Gallery Row saying, I went and talked to them. this is our advice. This is what you need to be
Yeah.
successful. We send each other, everyone. Have you been to Gallery Row? Have you been to
Yeah.
Third Story? Make sure you check out the Urban Arts. Make sure you check out, what's happening on 300 Block, Mulberry, the museum,
Yeah.
because we are stronger if we all come together and support each other.
Yes.
And we are all very dedicated and committed to creating an amazing artistic community here in Lancaster. So,
I love that.
yeah,
That's
I feel
amazing.
so welcome. Even the newcomers on block, I was like, hey, this is what I learned. Do you need my contracts?
Yeah.
I'll send you my contracts because it's so much. Are you sure you want to do this?
Just being real with
It's
them.
being real.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm here anytime you need help. So
That's
it's
amazing.
been really great. And I think that's how you
Yeah.
build a really great community, is supporting each other.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah.
I also think your success and your legacy that you're building too within the community, that people
Thank
are
you.
going to recognize you for someone who actually is authentic
Thank
and
you.
wants to build something better than more than just a paycheck at the end of the day.
Well, that
You know?
that means a lot, because it's a lot of hard work, but it's the reward in seeing. We have an art scavenger hunt for kids. So when kids come in and they're like, "Oh, I got to go to a gallery with mom and dad," I'm like, "Hey, you want to do a scavenger hunt?"
That's awesome.
And they get so engaged and they love it. And the last
Yeah.
question when they turn out their sheet is turn in their little sheet and they get a sticker. In order to get a sticker, what was your favorite piece of art? And they're so excited to talk about what they saw in
That's
the gallery.
amazing.
And it's so much fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So we love kids.
that.
We love kids and dogs in here.
Oh my gosh.
We do.
Kids and dogs.
Kids and dogs.
My girls did they do art classes at PCAD, and what they do like at the end of their session is they have like an art show for the kids.
That's amazing.
So they get their own wall to
Yeah.
display their art, and they do their little placards and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and like it's so cool, and it starts at that age.
Absolutely.
That's where you have to encourage it, so one day they can be
Absolutely.
an amazing
Well,
space
and
like
I think
this.
there's so many cuts that are occurring within
Yeah.
the art world, whether it's performance
A
or
lot.
visual,
Yeah.
that being able to make sure that we are still offering classes and avenues
Yeah.
for young and the old. I mean,
Yeah.
also we have such a strong retirement community
Yeah.
here in Lancaster that, to be creative, it keeps our minds working. It
Mm-hmm.
expands our minds as a child, and it keeps our minds sharp and
Yeah.
creative as we grow older. So it's so important.
Absolutely, and it's
Yeah.
their third, fourth, 10th season of life,
Yeah,
so they're
absolutely.
rediscovering things that they love too.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. Those are some ideas for, you could do one where it's like all seniors or
love
something like that. That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine what kind of great work they would
Oh
create.
my goodness, absolutely. One of our artists, one of our artists here discovered art at 65 after the passing
Wow.
of her husband. She
Oh.
has just been recognized globally. Her work is now being shipped off to Korea.
What?
She got the Musa Award. She was just a huge write-up. I mean, unbelievable. She is incredible.
Wow.
So, and that's just one of the
Yeah.
many artists we have here that are, we have everywhere from a 20-year-old artist in residence to, I'm not going to say the oldest, but a lot of artists who are definitely more established and have
Yeah.
experience. And the most beautiful thing is the exchange of ideas. And so
Absolutely.
I'm stuck on this. We have, help me. And it's just incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's
how
cool.
many residents do you have right now
We have
here? 23
artists in residence.
Holy
yes.
Anna.
So
Okay.
everyone from private studios to we have shared studios as well. Everything. The withdrawal room,
Wow.
which is for a lot more emerging artists.
Okay.
It's kind of an entry level, and they're but they get all the benefits of being part of the Art Vault.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's been
gosh.
cool. It's been fun.
So is there anything, if you have to leave us with one thing about either you or
Yeah.
your journey or even being here in the Art Vault, what would that be?
I think it would be, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Make mistakes. You
Yeah.
have a dream. Just give it a try. Take the risk. Ask questions.
Yeah.
Get a mentor.
Listen.
Listen. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Listen. And you know what? Listen to someone. Don't
Yeah.
react for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is so important. Say,
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm not sure if I can do that. Let me stew on it.
Yeah.
That has happened more times than I can even mention, that someone says, I really think this, I'm like, it's not really, gosh. And then I go home, I talk it over with a friend or with a mentor or, even one of my kids. I think on it. The next day I come back, I'm like, you know what? They might be right. Or this is something we can work
Yeah.
through. So yeah, don't be afraid to pivot and say, this
At
is the way
all.
I thought it should be, but this might be a better idea.
It usually always is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's redirecting you, realigning
Absolutely.
you to
It
what's
keeps
meant
it
for
fresh
you.
too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's never a
Ask
dull
questions.
moment in
No,
this
it is
journey.
not. Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? The other thing, honest conversations. Always. I had an honest
Yes.
conversation last night. It was the most rewarding thing with someone who
I
was,
love that.
you know, just honest conversations.
Yeah. The good, the
Yeah.
bad,
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Because in the end, you show each other your vulnerability, you give each other your ideas, and at the end, you just come out with something that's pretty beautiful. And really, you're like, this is the right decision. Let's move forward now.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you being
you.
here and sharing your story and sharing your space with us.
Oh my gosh, my
We love
pleasure.
being in
This
here.
is great.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
so happy
you.
to be here. I'm so happy to have everyone here. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. So,
Hey.
thank you. Thank you.
Easy peasy. Look
That
at that.
was great. So fun.